Okay, moving on. We're talking about chapter two, which is discussing the internet. Um, so let's get this PowerPoint going. There we go. Okay, so the internet. It says the internet is a collection, is a worldwide collection of networks. So it's a network of networks. So it's like all of the networks all over the world are all connected to create one big Uber network, which is the internet. So just think of the internet as a network of networks. It says the internet is a worldwide collection of networks that links millions of business, government agencies, educational institutions, and individuals. So all of us are part of the internet. It says the internet originated as ARPANET in September 1969 and had two main goals. This was actually something that the government wanted built. And it's like I said, it's got these two goals. One, to allow scientists at different physical locations to share information and work together. So they wanted the ability for one computer to talk to another computer that was in a different geographical location. Now, one of the big functions of this, and we do remember we're dealing with this in 1969, is the second part, to function even if part of the network were disabled or destroyed by a disaster. So in 1969, one of the things that we're very, very concerned about is the Soviet Union because we're in the middle of a Cold War. And we're kind of worried about, you know, them launching nuclear weapons at us. And so one thing, if you've ever been in the military, one thing that's very, that's really, really important is communications. It's like when we went into Iraq, that was one of the first things we tried to disable was their communications because once you disable your enemy's communications, it makes defeating them a whole lot easier if they can't communicate with their troops. So that's one of the reasons why the government was involved. This special part here, the function even if part of the network were destroyed. So in other words, if a nuclear bomb was to take out Kansas City, we still wanted to be able to route communications around Kansas City. So this is just an incredibly complex way of getting data from one place to another. It's done over millions of routers, satellites, phone lines. It's very complicated, but it works. Sorry, I have a cold. So this is talking about a little bit about how the internet evolved. In 1969, ARPANET becomes functional. It's just actually it's just a message sent from like one university in California to another university in California. 1984, more than 1,000 computers is host. Mostly this was government institutions and colleges were really huge in this one. I remember being a student at U of L and playing a game where I was actually playing with people at other colleges all around the country, and I just thought that was kind of fascinating. Um, Today it's nothing, but back then it was really interesting. Today millions of hosts connect to the internet, so you're part of the internet. I'm part of the internet. Every one of us, all of our computers or phones, everything has become our TVs, our DVD players, our video games. All of it has become hooked into this internet. So this is talking a little bit about different ways that we can communicate over this. Like one of them is like we can go through it with a wire connection. So here we have a computer that is wired to a modem that is somehow wired to the internet. And this one here is like using a wireless modem to get onto the internet. So we can connect via wired or wireless. So this is talking about different kinds of services that are provided. A wired service is you can use cable, DSL, or fiber to the premises. And this apparently, hopefully soon, Google Fiber will be in the area, and so this will be what Google Fiber is going to be doing, hopefully soon. Another option is wireless fidelity. Now this is kind of interesting because this is bigger in other countries than it is here in the United States. I mean, we have wireless communication, but it's not uncommon in some European countries for the entire country to be have a way for you to connect. So in other words, no matter what you're doing, if you're in the middle of nowhere, you can actually connect to the government's internet. You also have mobile broadband, which is just generally using your phone, fixed wireless, and satellite internet service. Cyber cafes, these were never really big here in the United States. They were big in European countries, but the United States, we never really had a whole lot of use of cyber cafes. And what a cyber cafe is, it's like just a business that that's set up with a whole bunch of computers, and you can go in and pay time and access the internet, read your email, and then go on your merry little way. It's not like you have a computer in your house. You actually go to a cyber cafe to do all of these things. Like I said, we never really had a whole lot of these here in the United States, but they were very big in Europe. An ISP. An ISP is who you use to get your internet service from. Is it America Online? Is it Time Warner here in Louisville? Is it was it Wave? Something kind of Windstream in Bullitt County. DirecTV, Uverse has their own connection. There is an AT&T DSL kind of connection. So, so you have these different kinds of connections. Different companies that you can call to get your ISP, and different ones offer different services. Like right now, AT&T or Time Warner's has like 50 megabit service, and eventually, like I said, if we get Google Fiber here, gigabit up and downloads will be that's what's going on with the fiber. So Google Fiber will be amazing when it comes. So this is a really interesting. This is an interesting slide here that just kind of shows how your web traffic is routed. It says how a home user's request for a web page might travel through the internet using a cable internet service. So in other words, you send a request to the internet. For example, you enter the web address of a web page you want to go visit. So in other words, you want to go visit CNN.com. So you enter in, it goes, it hits that request hits your cable modem. The cable modem transfers the computer signal and sends to a cable television line in your house. So it's connected through a coax cable in your house. So it sends it out on that wire. That wire hits a box in your neighborhood that is eventually routed into like the main ISP hub, and that actually sends this to this mess. This is kind of an interesting representation of something that we call the cloud, and the cloud is just this. We say things go up into the cloud and then somehow they come out on the other end. And what that means is we don't really know how traffic travels through the cloud. There's different algorithms that says traffic needs to go this way or that way, but somehow I can type in a web address, google.com, and it will go up into this cloud, and somehow it will come down wherever I need it to be at google.com, which is probably somewhere in California. And then that request, after Google says, okay, we found what you're looking for, it will send it back up into the cloud to be returned back to my computer here in Kentucky. So this is the way this thing works, back and forth. So data goes this way, and then it goes back this way, this way, this way, at pretty fast rate. So this is talking about your IP address. Like everyone has an IP address if you're connected to the computer. I just brought in this command line just to show you, like here would be mine from where I'm at right now. See, I'm actually, see this 192.168.1.1. This means I'm actually hidden behind a router. That's actually the address of my PC on my side of a router. So that's not my internet address. It's just an IP address for what's going on my side of the router. A domain name is a text-based name that corresponds to an IP address. Oops, let me show you something. So again, I got this command line thing, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to Google, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a ping. A ping is just say, are you there? And it will reply back yes. So it's just like, are you there? And it will reply back yes. So I'm going to ping Google. I want to ping Google. So I'm ping www.google.com. So we'll ping it, and it comes back. It says pinging Google with 32 bits of data, and it gets a reply, and this is how fast it took. So I got a reply from 74.125.126.52. So okay, what does that mean? Let me slide this out. Let me slide this over here, and I'm going to bring over Internet Explorer page, and let's watch this. So I'm just going to type in that address. So 74.125.226.52. Oops, 52. And let's see what happens. It takes me to Google. This is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so that's why that page is up there. But I am at Google's webpage. So what this means is this domain name. A domain name is just a name that we give for an IP address. So as far as the internet's concerned, Google's name is 74.125.26.52. But if I want to get to Google, I can easily just type google.com and that will get me there. It's easier to remember google.com than it is to remember an IP address. Down below this is a DNS server. Translate the domain name into its associated IP address. So when you go out and when you type in www.google.com, it hits a DNS server, and the DNS says, okay, what you really want is 74.125.26.52. Okay, so if you've gone to web pages, you've probably seen these. Like JCC's website is jctc.edu or kctcs.edu. So different sites have different extensions on their address, and a lot of it dictates like what kind of a site they are. So like com is a commercial site, edu is an educational site, gov is a government site, .mil is a military, .net, network provider and commercial companies, .org, nonprofit organizations, and there's a whole lot more. There's like different countries will have their own extension. So you may see some weird one, .tv, .eu, things like that, which just means that this website is actually located in a different country. So these is not by any stretch of the imagination all of them. There's plenty more. So again, this is talking about how this works. You type in google.com. The browser communicates to a DNS server, which says, okay, this is the IP address you want, and it transfers this IP address into the web page, or transfers the web page into an IP address and goes out there and gets it. So that's just exactly what I showed you just a second ago. Again, this is like talking about the World Wide Web. The World Wide Web, or web, consists of a web page collection of electronic documents. Now, don't get the internet confused with the World Wide Web. They're actually two different things. The web kind of rides on the internet. What the web is kind of a visual way for us to communicate over the internet. It's a lot prettier. It's a lot easier to use rather than just text. So we can go to websites and we can have links that go from one place to another. So it says right here, a website is a collection of related web pages and associated items. So here's an example of this. I'm going to go to CNN.com. And so now I'm on CNN's website. Glenn Fry died. Very sad. So I'm on the CNN's website, and this is just their main page. So you see I'm at CNN.com. But like, let's suppose I want to dig down a little bit deeper into it. Then maybe I want to dig into politics. So I click on this, and it's going to take me to their politics page. Now I've gone into a web page in their website. So now I'm at CNN.com politics. So it's different like links, and it's like if I click more, I'll get deeper and deeper and deeper into these things. Eventually, you can watch this trail grow, because now I went to CNN, now it's special politics, national politics. So these are just different web pages that are on that website. A web server is a computer that delivers requested information to your computer. So in other words, CNN out there somewhere, they have a web server that is giving me this information that I'm requesting. A browser, you've used it, you know what that is. It's something that you use to view the web. It is for communicating. It's for getting websites, web pages, and stuff like that. The big ones are Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Firefox, Safari if you're a Mac person. So there's different ways you can view websites just using different browsers. They're not all the same. Some work better than others. I'm kind of a Firefox guy myself, even though you see me using Internet Explorer here. It says web page is a unique address called a web address. So this is like the web address for this National Park Service. So it's like we've gotten deeper into this page. So the host name, domain name is nps.gov, nationalparkservice.gov, and then we're getting deeper into it, history, places. So these are just like different web page name, path. I mean, this is just deeper into that one website. A web app is an application stored on a web server that you can access through a browser, web app, host, blah, blah, blah. So it's like different web apps that are out there. So this is talking about SkyDrive. So it's like a web app that's out there that you can use for like something like cloud storage. A search engine, Google. Search engine is software that finds websites, web pages, images, videos, news, maps, and other information related to a specific topic. A subject directory classifies web pages in an organized set of categories, such as sports, shopping, related subcategories. So the way this kind of works is like just using as Google. You have the web, and Google has these software robots, and it's the web, so they're called spiders. And what these spiders do is they go out and they just kind of like roam around the web, and they go to different websites to see where they can go, and it relays information about websites back to Google. Google processes this information and creates a huge database. Then that's when you're searching for a specific site, you're hitting Google's database and you're saying, okay, here's a list of sites that we found that are related to the search that you had. And of course, there's also advertising that Google does. That's how they're making their money. If you're doing searches, this is kind of an interesting page that you can do. A lot of these are things that you can do. So, like if you're a space or plus displays search, which that includes specific words. So, I can type art and music or art music, and it's going to respond with sites that are related to art and music. I can use R display search results that include only one. So this one may include art or music, but it may not necessarily include both. One of the ones, this one is a pretty good one. This is a very specific web search. So I use this one a lot at work because if here's a trick. If you get a error message somewhere on the screen and you don't know what it means, what you can do is you can go into Google and type parentheses and then type out that web message, close the parentheses, and that's going to help you. That's going to give you like hits back on websites that are specifically related to that search, specifically related to that error message that you've seen. I use this all the time at work. So I'll just like make quote and then type the error message, close quote, and do a search on it. And I fix a lot of things just doing that. I Google a lot at work. So web publishing is the development and maintenance of websites. So this is like if you become a web developer or web publisher, these are the things you could do: plan the website, design the website, create the website, host a website, and maintain the website. Some money to be made in this. It's a pretty good career path that's probably not going to go away anytime soon. It's a lot of responsibility, especially things like hosting the website and maintaining the website. If things go bad, things go bad. If you don't believe me, check just look up the history of the Affordable Care Act site when it first went up. That was a major fiasco. Multimedia refers to any application that combines text with graphics, animation, audio, video, virtual reality. I think there's an incredibly cool animation coming up Watch. Oh no, that's not it. But you'll see it in a second. It's amazing. Graphic. It's talking about digital representation. Let's see. Infographic. This is an infographic, so it's just a pretty picture talking about whatever it is that you're trying to get, the information you're trying to convey. Infographic, a visual representation of data and information designed to communicate quickly, simply, complex concepts, and or present patterns or trends. Animation. This is it. Watch. Ooh, ooh. Pretty fancy, wasn't it? that's that's a pretty sad display of animation. We're going to learn more animation than that when we just get into PowerPoint, but that's animation. I always think that's sad. Audio includes music, speech, or any other sound. So, like if you go to a lot of websites, they will have audio and video on a computer. And then we also, you'll see these quite often. It's like a virtual website where you can go and you can view things. A lot of times you'll see this with like realtor companies will do this. You can do a virtual tour of a house before you visit it. So you can like walk through it and do a virtual tour of it and turn your mouse and you will look different ways. You also see this with hotel rooms. Sometimes they'll give you a virtual tour of the hotel room before so you can see what it looks like before you rent it. A plugin is a program that extends the capability of a web browser. These are things like Java, Flash, Adobe Reader. So these are things these are small little applications that you can use, that your browser uses to display sometimes animation, sometimes documents, but that's a plugin. So there's a whole lot of plugins. That was the Java, uh, Adobe Writer, or I'm sorry, Adobe Reader, and Flash are the big ones. This is talking about email. Email is a transmission of messages and files via a computer network. Actually, email was one of the very first things that they worked on when they created the internet, was a way to email. Electronic mail is what it was called. That's where email comes from. But to email things from one place to another. Again, this is a representation of how email works. You write an email on your computer using whatever it is you're using, either a web browser, if you're using some sort of webmail or Outlook or Mac mail, one of those things. And eventually you hit send, the email contacts a software on your outgoing mail server. So it hits your outgoing mail server, which is somewhere probably at your IP. Then it goes on and starts roaming around the internet. It goes out and hits different website or different routers, and they ping back and forth all over the place until eventually, where it needs to go, it hits the incoming mail server for the recipient, and it just sits in the incoming mail server until he opens it up, and it'll download to either his computer, his phone, or whatever. Instant messaging. You use this all the time. Texting. Generally, it's like if it's on a phone, we call it texting. If it's on a computer, we call it instant messaging. But it's pretty much the same thing. Chat rooms used to be big back in the 90s. Not so much anymore. And although you will see occasionally, like businesses will do chats. So in other words, if you go to I have this happen if I'm on Lowe's website, if I'm like looking at an item and I kind of like stay there for a while, eventually this little pop up will come on and ask me if I want to chat with someone at Lowe's about whatever item it is that I'm looking for. So that's kind of a feature of chat. Discussion forum. You see these a lot. It's not as much anymore, but it's like if there's something that you're interested in, this discussion forums are places that you can go and you can talk with other people who are interested in the same thing. This pops up a lot in the news lately with ISIS. That's kind of like how they're communicating, or it used to be how they're communicating. Now they've gone a little bit darker it's not as out there in the open for people to find. But you know, this is like one of the first steps to getting someplace you really don't want to go. So, like I said, discussion forums are out there, and they're generally like Google groups is a place where you can find different groups that talk about different things. So, like this is Google group talking about dinner suggestions. Wow. Voice over IP. I think I talked about this maybe in the last video, but what a voice over IP is, VoIP. Uh, what this is like before the internet became as prevalent as it is, and before it actually got into pretty much everyone's house, you had a phone line. Um, and it was kind of interesting because it used to be when the internet first started catching on, the internet came over a phone line. Well, now because everyone's using some sort of broadband communication for the internet, you can use that broadband communication to make your phone calls. So what's going on is like instead of a phone line, you're using your internet connectivity to make phone calls. Like I said, it's kind of an interesting turn of events because originally the internet was on the phone lines. Now phone calls are being made through the internet. So irony. File transfer protocol. This is the way you move files from one place to another. So if you're uploading a file, like you're uploading, like later on, I'm going to take this video and upload it to YouTube. That's a file transfer protocol. If you download something from a website, that's FTP. It's just a standard. This is an internet standard that permits file uploading and downloading to and from other computers on the internet. Many operating systems include FTP capabilities, pretty much all of them do. An FTP server is a computer that allows users to upload and download files using FTP. Netiquette. This is, you all seen this if you're in a chat room or something like that. Don't chat or don't use all caps because it's considered shouting. And there's a whole lot of these things. BTW, by the way, LOL, LOL. You know what they all are. Thank you very much. In my humble opinion, those kinds of things. Sometimes I make up my own. And that is chapter 2. Talk to you all later on. Hit me up if you have any questions. Bye.